What's up, everybody? Welcome to a live show. This is the final show of the year for Beyond the Usual.
Wow. We're gonna work on that intro.
Hey, look, this is just data. We're gathering data to improve, so it's okay.
My goodness. Yes, yes, yes. 25.
What a year, right? It's
Yeah,
been an exciting year. And you know what though? This year has passed by super quick. Like I feel
it
like it went
has.
by too fast. But
Yeah, it has flown by. Like, I feel like 6 months ago it was Christmas. Um, but it's been good. I mean, they say time flies when you're having fun. So, you know, and it has been. I feel like this year has been. I remember last year when we were doing our episode and we were talking about like our phrase or word for 2025, and I was talking about like alignment, expansion, and follow through and things like that. And I just feel like this year has been like amazing, but it's also been the most challenging. Like I feel like if I didn't have the mindset that I did, I would have viewed it as like a bad year. Well, not like all the way, but definitely like I would be like, I don't know, this was one of them rough ones, But this was like I think one of the things that I've been like sitting on is like that today's challenge or problem or obstacle is tomorrow's initiation.
mm,
Like a lot of times I think we be going through our, ish, and we think like we're just like focused on the problem and like, okay, how do I fix this? We're just like really stuck in it, but I feel like if we change our mindset to like really think like this is me getting through this, whatever it looks like, is going to actually prepare me for the bigger thing in the future. This is like the training ground. So 2025 was a training year.
man, listen. That's the best way you could have put it. Training ground
Yeah.
is right because
Yeah.
it felt like everything that could go wrong, it went wrong. And it was like, man, this couldn't possibly get any worse. And I was like, well, hey, it just got worse. But
Hmm.
like you said, it was training and there were so many lessons to be extracted from it. But I feel like with everything that happened, I feel like it was to me, from my perspective, it felt like a purging. Like
Hmm.
there was some things that needed to be excavated and purged out of our environments so that way we could learn and grow and evolve into the beings that we had to be in order to see the success that we want to see. And it's like I feel like when we first started, we had these goals of just like, yo, we're about to be on it. We're about to have this podcast. We're about to have all of these programs and everything. And it's like, it was exciting in the beginning, but then life started to kick in. But I think that those things just prepared us for all of the things that we had previously asked for in the beginning. And honestly, even though we had our days, there was still a high level of consistency that was kept throughout the year. Like most people don't even make it this far in their podcasting journey or in their entrepreneur journey, coaching journey, whatever the case is. But I'm proud of us for making it to this point because we could have just like completely been obliterated by this year and just say, you know what? F it. Just scrap everything. Nothing's going right. Every time we try something, it just seems like there's something else that happens that gets in the way. But with the mindset that we had, like you said earlier, we didn't let those things stop us and we didn't let nothing hinder us or get in the way of the progression of the growth of not only our own individuals, but the collective that we're creating right now. And this could be for anybody else that's watching too. Like you can put it in the chat. Like, what are some things that you got out of this year? Like, what are some things that you felt were dynamic for you in this year as well?
Yeah. Which
Um,
speaking of, we not about to like just bypass this because we are 1 year into our podcast journey. Like, can we just take a moment? Like you said, most, a lot of people don't make it this far because I think we're what, like 30 something episodes,
I,
somewhere around there. Yeah, 30. Yeah, like this might be like 31, 32, something like that. But like, that's really dope. That, this is like anniversary season, I guess, because also a year since, I've been coaching for some years, but as far as getting paid for it, a little over a year as well, almost at 10K in my business. And, like if it wasn't for just continuing, even through the times where it felt, there was doubt or there was confusion, there was like, what the hell am I doing today? Without that, wouldn't have been able to, thank you. We wouldn't have been able to get to this point, and I'm really looking forward to what 2026 brings. Like,
yeah.
ain't no stopping us now.
Hey, hey,
Like we are doing this. Like this doesn't even feel like optional anymore, you know?
nah, facts. Facts. And you know what's funny though? Let's talk about this real quick. The transformation that you've had in just 1 year. Like, I've been able to witness them. Like, you transitioned more times than I can count. Like, literally, I will be on TikTok and I'll be like, okay, what's she doing today? Because it was like, it's not a bad thing either. Like, it was truly
Yeah.
fantastic. But it was like the journey and the process to see where you are now is phenomenal. Because honestly, I'll be honest, during my whole journey of just like being a thought leader and being a mindset developer, you've been a great inspiration for me because there was times where I felt like is this really working? Is this really gonna like and then you would just hit me with some inspiration either during our conversations or just like in a video and I'll just be like it'll just snap me back into reality like oh yeah, I got this. I got this. So that's kudos to you for that, for the transformations. Like talk about that. Like, what was that like? Because I saw you go from like a shadow coach, shadow work coach, which you still do, a dating coach, and there was some other things too in between. But just kind of talk about that transformation and those transitions. Like, what was that like?
Oh my gosh, it was a lot. Like as it was happening, I mean, it was just so interesting because it was just these moments and me and chat, me and AI be like this. So I would be like, just going like doing a deep dive with like chat and then something would hit me and I'd be like, that's it. That's the coaching. That's the container. And it happened about like 15 times this year. um but it was because I was shedding, I was like learning. I had my own coaches too, so all these things that I was like intaking and then releasing and just expanding, it just was all happening at once, and I'm grateful for it. But during the time it felt like it was like these dopamine hits because it would be
Yeah,
like, okay, great. But then something else, it would just kind of like that, it would dissipate like within, weeks, sometimes a few months. And then I'm like, okay, what is it? It just like I kept feeling like I would search for something and then I would like almost get it. And then next thing you know, I'm like, wait, nah, that's not it.
that's
Nah,
not.
I'm just wait, okay, to the next one. And it just felt like it just kept happening to the point where I was thinking like, what the hell am I doing? Like, is this like it just felt wrong? But
Mm.
I do think that I needed to go through that process to um get to the point where I am today. Like learning during that, I was learning about sales. I was learning about marketing. I was learning, about being like a serious entrepreneur, not like I'm just doing this for funsies and I'm calling myself a coach on TikTok, but like, no, I'm actually setting up my systems. I'm, building in real time. So I think it was just this process. Like I was building personally, I was doing my own personal development work, but I was also building the business, which was a major lesson for me, that I honestly didn't learn until probably like the third or fourth quarter, was that I was taking my business personal. I was so attached, like my identity was attached to my business. So I was making business decisions and taking it personal. And it was causing a lot of like internal resistance to it because every decision felt like something like big, like this means something about me. And I think that's a really good lesson for anybody that is selling anything or has a business or they want to be a business owner is you got to remember that business and life are two different things. Business problems and life problems are separate. So, I mean, yeah, I'm grateful for it, but it was definitely a journey. Like, I kept feeling like, oh, this is it. This is it. And I kept feeling like that each and every time. And then it got to the point where I was like, okay, like, maybe I'm just crazy. Like, maybe I just don't know what the heck I'm doing. But it all came together. It was just pieces of a puzzle, you
Yeah,
know?
that's true. And not, a lot of people aren't even willing to go on that journey either, because at some point people will just be like, you know what, this ain't worth it no more. Let me just quit. And hey, my boy DJ, what's good with you? Hey, appreciate you coming through. But yeah, like a lot of people aren't even willing to go through that journey because they look at themselves like, what am I really doing? And then not only that, they have people to validate the reason or excuse as to why they're doing what they're doing, or having the misunderstanding as to why they're doing what they're doing. So that right there in itself just goes to show the tenacity and the bravery that you have to go on your journey to get to where you are right now. So, we gotta clap that up. We gotta put some hearts in the chat for that, because that right there, that's praiseworthy.
Yeah.
Like honestly, I went through that too, because as you know, I was driving a cargo van for a while. I started that business, and then I started like trying to sell land, like wholesale land, and then I was trying to like sell insurance. So I was just trying to figure it out too. Like I went on that journey. Like I started with how we first got here, like to Georgia, me and my wife. We was selling insurance, right? We got sold the dream, like, yo, if you sell life insurance, like it's gonna change your life. We got clients already ready for you. All you gotta do is just go and boom, close them. And that
Mm,
was a journey in itself, because like trying to sell that to people was tough. Like going and just knocking on doors left and right, trying to build up a clientele, like getting a gun pulled on you. It was a lot. It was a lot. I don't think I ever told you that story, but yeah,
mm,
it was a lot. And then we transitioned, and then we was working somewhere for a while, and then I was like, okay, this job is only just a means to an end, but we got to do something else. And then I started driving cargo vans because I saw like there was money in it, like doing courier business and stuff like that. So I bought a cargo van and I hit the road. I mean, I was all over the map
you
for,
were.
golly, for a minute. It was like almost a year, almost this whole year.
You was on all the coasts.
Every coast, east, west, boy, I done drove from Georgia to California. It was a journey, but I learned so much throughout that process. And I truly appreciate that process I went through, because not only was I able to see the world, but I developed a lot more business acumen because I had to understand how my money was working in this business. Um, but funny enough, I've discovered a state that I truly love now. I don't know why. Well, I do know why, but I just love this state. I love Utah. I don't know if you've
You know,
ever.
that's where a lot of millionaires are.
Oh, really? That's probably why I like it.
The energy of money.
I'm telling you, it's there because being there, it just felt so right. The mountains, the air, the
Mhm.
weather, because I think I went during like the springtime. So it was just beautiful. So I love Utah. Anybody who's in the chat that's from Utah, hey, shout outs to you because I love that state. But
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
so that took me there. That took me all over the coast. And then, it started to plateau after a while because I was like, okay, this isn't it. And then I just felt this calling, but I kept denying it. But you and then others kept reminding me of the gift. It's like you have the ability to be a coach. Like you have a calling. The way you orchestrate words, this thought process that you have, it's like this is what you were designed to do. But for me, I felt like, nah, this ain't it. This ain't what I'm supposed to do. Because I was doing this for years. Like I was like, there was at one point where I would drop a video a day, like on YouTube, on TikTok. This is probably before TikTok. This is when it was just Instagram and YouTube and Facebook. And with Facebook, I mean, with Instagram, I was dropping like 4 or 5 videos a day. With YouTube, I was dropping 1 to 2 videos a day, and I was just consistent with it. And I was even building up a clientele and stuff. But then I don't know. I guess I got discouraged, and it wasn't moving how I wanted to. So that's when we moved, and then I went on the other journey that I told you about earlier. And so now I'm feeling called back to that. And I have a lot of new things coming up soon for you all. So I'm excited about this new chapter. I feel so rejuvenated. Like I felt like I had to go on that journey to really discover what was already in me, what I already knew what was in me. And so
Mhm.
that's something that I'm going to be bringing into 26. But I want to ask you this too as we transition. What are some of the lessons that you learned in 2025, and how are you going to like extract the lessons from 25 and transfer them into 26?
Yeah, there's a couple things, but I did want to touch on that's like one of those things where you think about like what's for you is for you. You know, people be thinking like, oh, I got to do this right now because, but you went with where the inspiration went. You went with, where you felt pulled, which was in those other business ideas at the time. But it's like if it's meant for you, like there it's there. Like it's not for anyone else. Nobody's gonna take it from you. So I love that. But 2025 had a few lessons for me. I think 2025 I was like really just seeing what sticks.
Yeah.
I felt like I was like kind of just going with the flow. It was like, okay, well, whatever happens, happens. Like it was just about like getting the momentum. I was intentional. I think that was one of my words. I was intentional, but at times I think, and this is what I think a lot of people do, is that we think we're being intentional, but we can sometimes confuse that like being intentional with procrastination,
Mhm.
Like for me, it came with my business where it was like creating content. So when I was having all of these shifts and when I was like, okay, I'm this kind of coach today, and like let's move forward with that, I was learning new things and kind of like what we were talking about, like the art of like selling and marketing, because it is a skill that you have to build. And so when I realized that I was just, I was talking good stuff on like TikTok and social media, but it wasn't creating sales, right? It wasn't getting people to say, like it was like saying, "Oh, this is a great perspective," or this really helped me. I would give tips and stuff here and there, and
Mhm.
it resonated with people, but it wasn't creating clients.
Mhm.
So once I like saw the gap that I was, that was there, I was intentional. So I was like, okay, let me just learn about sales and marketing, right? Let me get my stuff up. Hey, Joshua. Um, let me get my stuff up so that I can, come back and then create content and like be able to increase my clientele and help more people have more impact. So it got to the point where, and I think I wasn't posting anything for like months. Like it went like maybe like 3 or 4 months that I didn't post anything because I was being so intentional and procrastinating because in my head I needed to do all this stuff and learn all these things before I started coming back to say like, hey, I'm a coach again. But the lesson in that was like, at the end of the day, the lessons and you learning comes through the process. It comes through you doing it. You can ideate all damn long, right? You can say all the things, you can learn the things, but until you put it in practice, until you're implementing it and refining as you go, like now, I have clients that are, I have like clients that are women. I have clients that are like kind of like business coaching, executive coaching, life coaching. But my main focus right now is kind of like going into the dating coaching for men. And so now, even as I post, like I'm back in the swing of things with posting, but I'm like focused on each time I'm learning and I'm refining as I go. But I'm not using that to say, oh, I'm being so intentional. I'm just gonna stop doing it until I get this like right? Because
Mhm.
right comes through the practice.
Yeah.
So I think just learning that and just not being afraid to just try and be messy, right? Like I think we talked about it on our podcast before, allowing ourselves to be beginners, right?
Yeah.
But now again, I almost at like 10K in my business now because I've been honing the skill,
Mm.
where It wouldn't have happened though if I would have kept hiding, trying to learn and practice in the background, right? So I'm still learning and growing, but I think that's where we learn the most, right? Is through
Mhm.
the doing it.
Nah, fact.
That's definitely one of my lessons. Did you have something?
Um, I'll share one of my lessons too. I think one of the biggest lessons that I've learned in 2025 is that goals are good, but systems are way better. Because for me, I set a lot of goals. Like I had so many goals that I wanted to hit, and I hit some of them, but I didn't hit as many as I wanted to. And one thing that I realized as I was going through my journey is I needed a system because even though I had all this drive and all this motivation, and I would get bursts of inspiration, and I would just go on like what I'm saying, like a momentum boost. I would lose momentum fast too, and I would just stop, and I'll be like, well, dang, why did I stop? And it was because I kept trying to create new things instead of creating a system to where the thing that I was already doing was just operating. And so I learned, and I learned this at the tail end of this year too, is that building a system is way more powerful than building and setting goals because goals are good, but if you don't have a system to put those goals in, they're just flashy things on a board that make you feel good when you see them. Like they're just that motivation. They're fleeting. They look good, and it's like, yeah, I want to build this business. I want to have this many clients and stuff like that. But then it's like it's not happening. But you're doing like work, but you're just doing busy work. You're just doing work to make it look like you're being productive, but you're not. Because that was me. Like I was doing the work, but I wasn't being productive in my work. I was just looking like I was being busy, and then I wondered why I wasn't getting results. And coming towards the end, I was like, I need a system. And so I built the system out. And I've been following this system from probably like less than a month. I want to say like 3 weeks now. And I've noticed like my level of productivity has increased and my content has gotten way better too, because now I'm actually adding real value. Not to say that I wasn't adding value in the beginning, but now it's something practical that people can use in their journeys. It's not just like, oh, that makes me feel good. Like, oh, that really resonates with that. Or thank you for this message. It's like, no, tell me more. It's like, how did you come to that conclusion? It's like once you start getting questions like that, you realize you got something. So that's why I'm so excited about this new coming year because the thing that I'm building out is something I've never done before, but it's only an accumulation of all of the trials and tribulations that I have overcome throughout my years of just being a content creator, being a thought leader, which that title came to me later on, but it makes sense. Being somebody who is an orchestrator of thought, right? Being somebody who is always into the development of the mind and self, and who has developed themselves to such a degree to where I have a high level of awareness of who I am and how I operate. And I systematically put my life in in this way to where I know how to function. So that was probably one of the biggest lessons that I've learned in 25.
Yeah, that's so good. Another thing that I think has been big this year too is and I think you kind of touched on it a little bit was about like relationships.
Mm.
This year I've had what I mean, kind of what I feel like has happened a few times actually is in relationships that I've invested in, when it comes to like other women, like how those dynamics have changed. And, you know, you could say for the better, for worse, or a loss, but it's helped me to see that not everybody has the capacity to vocalize when disconnects happen. And that's okay, right? Like, and even if they do have the capacity, some people don't have the desire.
Mm.
And I'm like, when I say it's okay, it's not to say like, oh, it didn't hurt, right? Like it wasn't impactful. Because there was a few, there's probably about three people that I can think of that, I mean, we had really great relationships, kids involved with one another, and the connection ended and I didn't even know like what happened or like what, well, like one, I think I I knew, but it was still like one of those things like I'm big on kind of like communication and like transparency and like let's talk this out. Let's be productive rather than I'm just not one of those people that just cut people off. But it's not to say that that's a problem because again, people have different, priorities and things, right? So if somebody feels like we're not no longer aligned, then who am I to you know what I mean? Like say
Yeah.
anything about that. But it was just like for me, for the most part, I kind of felt like there was a big loss. Like there was this big gap and I just didn't know what to do with that. And I think I felt shifts energetically even with them. However, I didn't like understand what was happening and, as it was happening. And I think that it just showed me again like not everybody is you, right? Like it's one of those things you can't fault someone for not being you, thinking
Mm.
how you would think or valuing what you value, like not to say that they didn't value our connection up until a certain point or whatever, but it was just like I think friendships and just relationships in general is a thing a lot of people are really big on like expanding their community and stuff, but it's one of those things that for me now I see it as like it takes work like you have to a lot of people be saying they want really good friendships and connections, but then they're not really knowing how to maintain a friendship or a connection. You know what I mean? Like they don't check on people or, see how they can support them, right? Or even support them in their ventures or whatever the case may be. And so it was just one of those like eye opening things for me to see that everybody is on a different journey, but it also doesn't mean that it's always a bad thing, right? Like, I mean, again, it was a heartbreak. I did go through like heartbreak with these relationships, but at the end of the day, I was able to like really understand that we all have phases in our life as well, right? Like where we have to kind of learn to like reshift our community. And I think that's something that doesn't get talked about enough because I've been on my journey of like building community and things like that. Like, that was what the old podcast was about, right? And even as I moved out here to Atlanta area, like I've been really big on building my community. I have, my dating community, I have my business community, I have my coach community. I have, like so many different communities. When I was before I moved out here, I had built community there even with you, right? Like I've made a couple people from like TikTok, from Bumble Business, networking, like made some really dope connections with people through these networks. But the thing is, I think that we don't give enough like intention and reflection on when we have shifts in our lives and how we have to shift those communities like to kind of reprioritize, right? So when I moved out here, I was really focused on my business. So I've been going to networking events, expanding, connecting with other business owners and entrepreneurs and, just all the things, other coaches, I mean, and that was great. I had already built my like community with like moms and stuff like that. But now I'm realizing, you know, I was in a phase before where I had a nanny and then I had him in full time daycare. But now
Mhm.
in my entrepreneurship journey, I have him at home full time, which is its own set of challenges, right? And with that, I'm realizing now I'm in another phase where I'm kind of not shifting away from those communities, but I'm realizing I need to pull in a little bit more of community with the moms like that are in the same phase as me. Moms that have toddlers at home that know those struggles, right? Because my friends can empathize with me, they can, sympathize, but they can't really relate, until they have a toddler. So that's just one of the things that I think that sometimes we hold on to things when it's not really that phase in our life to be holding on to. And not to say that means that I got to cut off all these other people, but it's just about shifting and realizing, okay, I need to add this piece to this, which because this is where I'm at. This is where my life is. And I think for some time this year, I was like building my community, but I wasn't intentional in the aspect of thinking like more about the full picture. It was more like, oh, I'm focused on this or I'm focused on this. But now I'm like realizing, no, it's the whole plate, right? And you just need to be more aware of like at different points in our lives this community may pick up and you may need a little bit more of that, and then at this time you may need a little bit more of this, and it's all integrated. So I think that's kind of one of the things that I've like learned as well, and now I'm in this full-time stay-at-home mom thing, which is great, but it's also ghetto. And yeah, like I'm just wanting some mom friends that I can engage with that maybe also are in their entrepreneur journey, or in their careers or whatever the case may be. But yeah, I think that's one of the things I don't think we talk about, how that community shifts based on the phase of life that you're in and not necessarily demonizing it. You know what I mean? Like we be thinking you're forgetting where you came from type of thing. And it's like, no, like sometimes we just reprioritize and, our life shift. And that's literally what we're supposed to be doing?
I mean, yeah, people think that you're just supposed to stay the same, like you don't grow, like you don't evolve, like life doesn't come with nuances or different perceptions and things of that nature. But I like that. I really do like that. You're right. You said something that I heard earlier today when I was speaking with my sister, and you said like sometimes we hold on to relationships that we know we need to let go of. Because sometimes you hold on to it, it's harder to hold on to than it is to let go. And I feel that. I really feel that because I feel like there were some relationships that I had to just like let go of. Like they just weren't serving me. And that's kind of the time that I'm on too, as far as like being so intentional with my energy and being intentional with my time and the environments that I'm in too. Like you said, community is so important because that was one thing that I didn't have growing up, but not just growing up, but just like throughout my entrepreneurship journey. Like I didn't have like community. I had community, but then it was like there was a period where I didn't and I needed it. So it was just this constant trying to find the right communities that best fit where I was going along my journey. Because it's one thing to have community, but it's another thing to have community just for the sake of wanting community. Because sometimes you'll be in certain environments that aren't really for you, but you just want to feel a part of something, right? So I feel that. I feel that.
Yeah. And it can shift because when I think about my old community, I had girlfriends and I have some best friends that I've had for years. But I think some of the people that I stayed close to for a long time, it was like we ideated and we executed to an extent, but then circumstances, life. But now I truly feel like I'm in this space of just amazing community to the point where I'm like, I mean, it's so amazing. It's so delicious because I'm surrounded by millionaires, coaches, entrepreneurs, thought leaders, like people that are literally changing their life and other people's lives every day. I'm surrounded by people where I'm getting invites and not just like people asking for help. She said there's an echo. Ooh, no bueno. I wonder,
Yeah,
you hear echo?
I don't. Is it coming from my end?
Hopefully, let us know if it's still there, Jolie. Thank you. But yeah, like I'm surrounded by people where I'm getting invites. I know we talked about that before, and not just like people asking us for help, right? But like people reaching out because, hey, I want to connect you with this person. Perfect. They're like, hey, I want to connect you with this person. Hey, I want to, oh, you just mentioned this. Like, I know somebody that does this. And like, it's so amazing to be around abundance, like to be around people that have your best interest. And it took intention, it took work, it took effort for me to get to this place to have people around me like that. I mean, and if you are not where you want to be in life, And I mean, I got goals. Listen, like we've talked about it. I got the TED Talk written. I've got, speeches and workshops created. I have plans. 2026, we about to be doing in-person events and all the things.
Mhm.
But I'm such in a place of peace and happiness right now. And it took work to get here. But I say, if you're not where you want to be in life, look at your community. Like, look at the people around you. Because one of the things that helped me, because we're human, right? Like, and we're on this journey, it's ghetto out here in these streets.
Mhm.
Things are expensive and stuff is changing. The political world, the economical world, like, there's so much happening. But being around people that are pushing me to new heights, that are challenging me to do the things, that are inspiring me to like just expand in ways and stretch in ways that I've not been before, is the only reason why I'm where I am today.
Mm.
But it took work, it took investment. Like I said, a lot of my closest friends now have been people that I'm like in programs with. And we, are, like I said, I found you through, we started this a year ago from Bumble, right? Bumble Business Networking. Like, and here we are. Like, we've developed a true friendship, you know? Lakeisha, met her on TikTok. I joined one of her lives one day, and here we are. She just texted me and said, we're a year, into our relationship too. Like, I've had
Wow.
some great people. So it's like online and offline, but it took intention, it took work. And I think, again, to get to where we want to be, to our goals, to, whatever it is, it takes real community. And I
Mm.
definitely noticed the shift because my old community, we talked about stuff, we talked about our dreams, but nobody was really, like it didn't really go anywhere.
Ain't
And
nobody doing
that's the
that.
difference now. Like, weird. Like, that is just so crazy when I think about it, and it makes me even a little emotional. Is that 2026 is about to be freaking dope. I was sitting at a table a few months ago at a breakthrough, like a business networking event, and we were talking about an event we have in April in one of our communities. And we're talking about doing like a yacht party and things like that. And I'm like, I would have never thought that I would be in spaces like this doing that. You know what I mean? Like, it's
Mhm.
such a different feeling when you have community. So if you want to level up, level your community up. I used to be, and I think this is, and you tell me, I don't know if this happens on the male side, but for women, and I used to be one of these women where I was like intimidated by other women, like their success. I kind of took it personal because it was like, I'm not there, I'm not achieving the thing. And I kind of steered away from it, right? Like, and now I lean into it because it's so inspiring. I'm
Mm.
like, I call it borrowing belief and borrowing evidence from people. Because
Yeah.
now, if it's possible for you, I know for damn sure it's possible for me, even if I don't have the blueprint. But again, just like you talked about, what's for you is for you, you know? So, yeah, I just feel like these amazing results and just the path, the momentum that has been happening has came from just having amazing community and just like investing in it.
Sorry, I had to write that down because that was a bar. If you want to level up your community. Listen, there's power in proximity. And I'm
Period.
a firm believer in that because like every time I feel and this had to happen like throughout 26. It's like anytime I feel low or if I'm feeling like second guessing or something like that, like my decisions in my business, the community will always bring you back to the clarity of why you started and the possibilities of what can be done without all the self-doubt, without you getting in your own way. Because most of the times, the community is there so that way you don't get in your own way. Because it can happen. You'll second guess, you'll doubt, somebody will set a big goal and you'll be like, can I really do that? But then somebody will be like, of course you can do that. Right? That's why, like, with this relationship we have, I value so much because sometimes I'll get in my head and be like, can I really do that? And then you turn around and be like, nah, yeah, you can actually do that. And then it's like a back and forth thing because that community is so important. And if anybody's getting any value from this, make sure you're leaving likes and comments in the comment section too as well. We greatly appreciate it. For those that are just joining, we're just kind of doing like a recap of what 2026, the lessons it, I mean 2026, what 2025 brought us as far as lessons and how we're extracting those lessons and bringing them into 26. Because I feel 2026 is going to be a dynamite year. It's going to be a phenomenal year because when you look back at, I'll say all the way back to 2024, because let's be honest, it feel like 24 was just like a couple months ago, and 25 is almost out the door. So all of the lessons from 24 and 25, like those were just like some tough lessons to learn because there was so much going on during those times. But now I feel like 26 is just that year of it's just gonna be a consistent wins. It's just gonna be consistent wins over and over and over again. There's gonna be some bumps, but it's not gonna be as bumpy as 25 was. It's gonna be like something like, oh, okay, felt that. But now I just feel like this is gonna be win on top of win on top of win because we know that we deserve it, right? Like you and I know we deserve the wins because of the work that's being put in, because of the dedication, because of the commitment, because of the mindset, which is the biggest part. Because if you don't believe that you're deserving of these things, then of course you're not going to get those things. And I feel like for me, from my journey, I've repeated certain cycles, like 24, 25. Those were some cycles that were repeated because I didn't get the lesson in the first go round. So I had to go through the lesson again. But now this time I understand now, right? Like Lethal Shooter says, like I understand now. I get it. I had to cut, I had to make a couple misses at first, but once I made my mistakes and corrected my errors, now I get it. Now I understand. Now I know how to move. Now I know what not to do. Now I know exactly what to do. Now I know how to believe. Now I know how to have faith in myself. Now I can see myself in these areas because I've put myself in these rooms. Like you put yourself in these rooms so now you can see the success for yourself. And so that's what 26 is. It's just that. It's really bringing into reality the life that you truly desire, right? And I want you to understand this too, because this was another lesson that I learned as well in 25 is that change is a process. It's not instantaneous. And what I learned is that everything that we're experiencing right now is just a collection of things that we did in the beginning of this year. And so now you get to live the life that you live now based on the things that you did in a previous time, right? That's how manifestation works. Manifestation is just the evidence of how reality is playing out for you, right? It's like one of those flip books. You see, like, do you have like a certain drawings on there and then you flip it and then it just plays out for you? That's how manifestation works. That's how a process works. And so now I'm looking at everything that I do in the present as what I will do in the future. So right now we're right here, we're on this live. We may not have as many people on this live that we want to, but the fact that we are showing up now in the present just means that there are going to be thousands that we're going to inspire, right? There are going to be thousands of people that are going to want to get into your coaching program, your dating coaching program. There are going to be thousands of people because now you're helping people by the hundreds, I'm sure, right? So it's going to be even more. The people that are on this live now, right? It may be two right now, but guess what? It's going to be 2.2 at one point, at some point. But it all happens right here, right now, because what I've learned is that the past and the present, or the past and the future are all happening right now in the present. So everything that you've accumulated from your past, you can bring it into the present and it starts to create a now future that you get to live right here, right now. So the impact that you're having on the people that are present in front of you is going to be the impact that you're going to have on the world as a whole. But it starts right here. So everything that we're doing, we're just living out the greatest life that we always envisioned for ourselves years ago. And 26 is just that. It's the embodiment of all of those collective years.
Yeah, yeah, so true. I feel like, we're at the end of December and a lot of people are about to be like, new year, new me, and in the energy of like, I want to work out, I want to do this, I want to do that, right?
Mhm.
And it's great.
Yeah.
However, I think we talk a lot, and this kind of speaks to what you were talking about before about the goals versus like systems, but I think a lot of people are focused on like what goals they want to have for the new year. But I don't think it gets talked about enough, not just the things that we want externally, but the type of person we want to be
Mm.
going into the new year. The person we want to be that gets those things, right? That gets the new career, that gets the job, that gets starts the business, that does work out or whatever. And this is, just even yeah, I think we've had plenty of moments where we've been vulnerable on this podcast, but I realized I want to become one of the best version of me that prioritizes like my health and my wellness. I've noticed that in the past, until recently, I've prioritized those things based on my circumstances or my relationship status.
Mm.
And this was like it was an emotional moment kind of reflecting on this because like so like I said, I had a nanny, my son was then in like full-time daycare and stuff. So when he was in full-time daycare, as an entrepreneur who gets to set her own schedule, right? Like I was active like 3 to 4 days out of the week. I was either going hiking, I was running, going to the gym, doing different things, going to yoga. And when I took him out of daycare, I stopped being active. And I kind of blamed it on my circumstances. Oh, because I got a toddler. Even though I know you can, people curate their workouts to, having their kid and all the things. But I was blaming the circumstances.
Mm.
And I even thought back to like relationships, right? Like my last relationship was a few years ago. And when I was in that relationship, listen, I was never in my life had I done this, but for some reason, for this man, I was cooking every day. I was preparing his lunch every day. He got me back into like working out, actually like enjoying working out and being in the gym more actively. And outside of that, the only other time that I've been like active on it was when I was paying for my personal trainer that I had when I was, before I moved out to Atlanta area. And so while those things are not bad in themselves, like I realized that I've gotten to this point where I need to get to the point like of prioritizing myself, becoming the person that focuses on these things, not because I'm in a relationship. And it was kind of one of those things like I was really focused on working out when my body was being witnessed by somebody because I was in a relationship. And
Mm.
that really kind of like hit me because like me, like I definitely feel like I love myself. I do so much self-development work and things like that. But there's levels to this.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? And knowing that as self-aware as I am and as great as I think my life is and things like that, like I just realized that I was loving myself, but with conditions. And those conditions were based on either the circumstances or me being in a relationship. And so what I want in 2026 is being the version of me that it doesn't matter that I'm doing these things for me because me being the person that prioritizes her health, her wellness, whether that doesn't mean oh I got to be in the gym 5 times a week, right? But me just prioritizing moving my body, finding new ways to new activities, even with my son, eating better and all the things, right? Well, I think we do good with eating, but anyways, you can always do better. And I just had ADD and I lost my train of thought. But you get where I'm saying, where like the version of me that prioritizes these things, so it's a lifestyle, right? It's like it's not
Mm.
because he's in daycare or because of this. Like, no, this is what I do. So even as my circumstances change, we just adjust fire, as we used to say in the military, right? Like, we adjust fire and we keep it pushing. So that's like, I think that needs to be talked about more. It's not so much the goals that we have, it's the person that achieves those goals. That's what we need to be shifting. And I think that's why a lot of people's, what they call New Year's resolutions fail by like February, right? Or March, because before the end of the first quarter, they haven't created the identity that they need to keep up these goals, these habits, because they
Mm,
haven't created systems. And part of that is again, it's with the identities. So I think that needs to be talked about more. And that's definitely one of the things that I'm going into 2026 like prioritizing is like the version of me that still shows up even on the days where life even when this happens, because a lot of us are waiting for motivation or whatever, and motivation fails us all the time, right? Like I'm pretty sure the millionaire, like, well, I know, like I said, millionaires that don't be feeling like doing the stuff all the time, but because they have the habits, because they have the identity, they know that they don't need to wait on motivation to do the thing. I
mm.
cannot do it and still go to the gym. I cannot do it and still like have this meeting. I cannot do it and still go sell. I cannot not want to do it and still create this content, right? So I think that is the thing, is like focusing on the identity, and that's yeah, that's one of my focuses.
Okay. I like that. I like that. Um, I do have a framework, but I think we're going to talk about it in the next episode because I feel like this right here was jam-packed with so much. And honestly, this is really just a recap, right? Of how 25 has been for us and the journey because I think that it's important for us to be able to reflect on these things because that's how we grow and evolve, right? And to let people in on this conversation so that way they can have a sense of evolution too as well. Because the reason why we have these conversations is because we want to help people to become better versions of themselves, but we also want to grow and evolve and become better versions of ourselves too. But the only way we do that is through reflection and conversation and through community, right? So the framework that I'm going to be talking about, I'm going to send you a video of the idea that I got it from, but it's called the divine level up. And essentially, this is like a depiction of who you want to be in 26, right? Like, what does that person look like? What does that person do, right? And this is homework that anybody can do that's listening right now. What does that higher version of you look like? Like, what do they do on a daily basis? What are some of their daily routines? Who do they hang out with? How do they eat? What environments are they in? And you can even get deeper as far as like, what dentist do they go to? What skincare routine do they have? Who is, it's just so deep. You can go really, really deep into this. And this is something that I feel like is important because before I used to create these like these storyboards, right? Like every year I would write it out as if it's already transpired before the year comes. And it's like the year is 2026. You've achieved all of your goals and you live a life of abundance. You travel all over the world. You have a seven-figure business. You have an amazing family. You have an amazing wife, amazing children. Your life is beyond anything you can ever imagine. You just really script out your whole life, right? And this is something that I want to share with you and everybody else too that y'all can do. And then we'll come back and we can talk about it again on this live. But I'm excited for what 2026 has to offer. I mean, I'm excited for just the moment because this right here can be encapsulated and it's going to be shared out into the world. And I just love this. I just love doing this because I know that people really get value from this. And I'm sure that we add value to each other just as much as we've add value to others as well.
Yeah. And I'm feeling, I think as much as, because I think what we've been talking about, we have like this growth mindset, right? Like where I think we're both thought leaders. We both are invested in this. This is a way of life. And I recognize that this is also foreign to some people.
Mm.
Some people's year wasn't as, and not to say like ours was easy, because we damn sure know it wasn't.
Mhm.
However, we always reframe things. We're always extracting value from our challenges and things like that. But I think it is such a privilege to be able to live this way. But there's so many millions of people that do not have this mindset, that do not have the community. and the, opportunities and the, like, even the belief, right? Like the examples. And so it's really like I'm getting a little emotional thinking about this because this was a beautiful episode. We talked about a lot of real stuff, but I think a lot of people had a rough year, like a really rough year.
Mm.
They lost people, right? They lost money. They lost like jobs. People have been experiencing a lot of loss in this time, and I think it's something I don't want to bypass and make it like everything, turn it into a lesson because we really do need to, and this is part of the shadow work, right? The healing is really allowing ourselves to face what's happened and honor that by, feeling the feelings and, allowing it to come up so that we can like move through it, right? And navigate. And then we can reframe. There's so many people that have had such a like hurtful year. And I really just want to take a moment because I just want to speak to those people that may not have the mindset to like, let me shift this into a positive and how can I learn from this? Like some people are still in that like 6 foot hole, right? Thinking like, and I remember being in those moments where I've contemplated not being here, right? Like not like yes, I'm talking about yachts and stuff like that. But like none of that stuff matters. Like I know what it's like to not have money in your account, to not have community, to not have examples, to not have people that support you. And I think it's like something that we need to talk about because it is a privilege to be here. And I don't take it for granted, like being in this space and coming so far to the point where I can help others to shift, right? And level up and all of the things. But if you are one of those people that feel like you've had like this tough year of loss, I want you to know that your future self does not, it doesn't matter what happened. It doesn't matter what's in your account. It doesn't matter the guilt that you have from past decisions you made. It doesn't like your future self don't care about your circumstances. It doesn't care about the people that left you, the people that said no to you and all the things, right? But your future self is going to be proud of who you've become and all the things that you've gotten through. So if you are here today, if you are, well enough to still just be standing, because I recall a time where it wasn't, oh, let me plan my business 3 years out. Let me plan my life for, the next quarter, right? It was like I needed to just think about surviving the next 5, 10 minutes.
Mm.
So if you are in that place, just know that you can still change your life today.
Mm.
You are not limited by your circumstances. You're really, truly only limited by your mindset. And by that, I mean, if you don't have community, if you don't have people around you that inspire you, right? People that are doing better than you. If you feel like the people around you are just kind of like doing the same, stuff or whatever, you are in this space, right? Like, and it's a positive and a negative, but we are in the space of like where, we have the phones and we got the laptops and all these things, right? YouTube, TikTok. If you need to unfollow people that are, sharing all these like violent videos or whatever the case may be, right? Unfollow some people. If it's not putting you in the mindset that you want to be, start looking for motivational speakers. Start following coaches. Start following, people like Alex Hermosi, Layla Hermosi. You know what I mean? Like, I just saw a video of hers today. It was a YouTube short, and it was talking about, she was talking about like how she posted like little screenshots of like comments when she first started her journey, right? And, Layla Hermosi, like now she's big for some people, but it's like she posted people and they were talking about, oh, is this a man or a woman, or like is this, why does her voice sound like that? Like they posted all kinds of like wild stuff. And in the comments, one of the people I saw, he was like, she was just talking about how she, it did get her down, but she kept going, right? And obviously it worked out for her. She's like a freaking, billionaire, right? But like one of the comments was a guy and he was like, I was one of those people. And he
Mm.
was like, I was one of those, a-holes that actually did comment like that. But then I actually did start listening and realizing she was actually giving value and spitting game. And now I'm like one of her like loyal followers. And that was like so beautiful to me Because even in this phase, like I think we all go through stuff and we're all worried about like comments. We're worried about judgment. We're worried about all these things. And we think we're limited by these things. But and I just thought that that was like just keep going. Just keep going. Follow people that you can that will inspire you, that will keep that momentum going, that seed. Even if, I think there was a time I was listening to like, Eric Thomas like every day, his voice that be like yelling at you and like,
Yeah.
let's go, right? Like I had to listen to him to kind of keep going because I didn't feel like I just had it within myself.
Mm,
So my recommendation is if you're not in the space that you want to be and you're feeling down and like you're just, maybe even feeling hopeless or whatever, follow people that are in spaces that you want to be in because proximity works in that way too. And if you are putting yourself in the thought, in the frequency of those people that are like at levels above you, I promise you, if you just keep going, like even when it don't feel like it, I promise you something's gonna land. Something's gonna stick.
definitely.
Somebody's going to show up and support you in a way that you never thought would be possible. Someone is going to give you an opportunity that you thought, like, me? You talking to me? Like, truly, it will start to work out for you, but it only happens when you put the effort in. So it
Mm,
doesn't matter what your circumstances are or what life is doing for you right now. You have the opportunity to change it by putting yourself in proximity to people that are doing the things that you want to do, even if it's not exactly, right? If you want to be a millionaire, you want to get your family out the hood or be this multimillionaire entrepreneur, you want to be a motivational speaker, start following those people. Put yourself in those rooms, invest in a little program because there's 100,000 of them. Listen, like there's spaces, but you gotta like put a little bit of the work in yourself.
mm,
Because
yeah.
if we're sticking around the community that's in the same place as us or worse, we just gonna keep looping. What's gonna happen when your motivation dies down, right? What's gonna happen when life? Because those millionaires be pushing me and they be like, I got this problem. And I be like, and you're still going. Like, you know what I mean? Like it motivates me.
Mm.
So yeah, that's all I got.
That was important. Yeah, that's gotta let that one marinate because that's true. You're right. Some people really didn't have a good year. And I'm glad you spoke to that because even though we're feeling how we're feeling right now and enjoying the blessings of everything that we've built up to this point, there are those who are still at the bottom trying to figure it out. And I can resonate with that because, like you, I was one of those too who's just trying to figure it out. Didn't like my circumstances, didn't like the people that I was around, just living in a lot of things that I didn't want and I didn't like. So that was what you said. I couldn't have said it better myself. Like surround yourself with the things that you really want to see in your life because this is something that I actually learned from one of my older mentors is like the more you know of what you don't want, the more what you do want will appear, right? Because it's like you've already gathered the evidence of what you don't want. So now you can figure out what you do want just based on the simple fact that this is the opposite of what I'm currently living. So this has to be better, right? Like, okay, what I've been doing doesn't work, but this over here can work way better.
Absolutely. And I
That,
think like that's the thing, we just got to immerse ourselves in it. So like whatever your goal is, just follow like-minded people, follow those types of people. And there's no excuse because Oprah, Alex Hermosi, they all got the same 24 hours in a day that we do. And the biggest thing that has helped me is part of one of my systems is when I'm washing dishes. I'm listening to stuff that's going to level my mind up, that's going to sharpen me, that makes me think differently. I'm listening to like my coaching program or YouTube videos. I'm listening to my podcast, like as I'm taking a shower. When like all of the things that we do is downtime. I even have to train myself sometimes instead of Netflix binging, right? Let me go like listen to something. Let me go listen to some Myron Golden or some Omar El Takori, like something like that. Because every time I listen to those videos, listen, I just like it just be firing off all kinds of synapses. And so that's one of the biggest things I think we can do is like immerse ourselves, like to the point where you're like, oh, my friend said this the other day. And it wasn't your friend. Technically, it was Myron Golden on a YouTube video because you just been listening to him so much. You know, that is what you need to do. If you don't feel like you have the resources, the community, or the, circumstances to level up, then you need to be like binging some of these millionaires. You need to be binging some of these like motivational speakers because there's really no excuse for us to not get the things we want.
Mm.
And, spiritual, religious or not, right? Like God, the universe, your ancestors want to give you the things that you want.
Right.
But we gotta put the work in. We gotta, get outside of ourselves and outside of our circumstances. So yeah, this
Mm.
was a good one.
Definitely, definitely. Want to wrap? I think that's good. I think that's good.
Yeah, I'm excited for next year. Okay, that was all right.
I didn't even do that.
Okay. Well, I'm excited for next year and what's to come.
Mm.
Uh, for this podcast, I am excited to be treating, and I know we talked about it, but like treating our podcast as a business.
Mhm.
Like, Omar had said, he was like, your business will change if or your life will change if you post one video a week for, I think he said like, did he say 100? But no, he said a year. He said 1 year. So, like, I think, just being even more intentional with our podcast and
Mhm.
treating it as a business. And, since we're both, coaches here and, all the things, just being even more intentional and kind of putting more forethought into this, I think is, one of the things. But yeah, like 2026, I'm excited. I'm looking forward to at the end of the year and it being like, wow, 2025 was greater than we even imagined.
Facts. So,
2026. Look at that. Yeah.
man, look, this has been
Yeah.
another amazing episode. And I want you all to remember this, right? Take this home with you. Growth, growth doesn't happen in the usual places.
And neither do we.
That's right. And thank you for joining us, for tuning in to another episode of Beyond the Usual, where we don't just talk about it,
We go beyond it, y'all.
for sure. And until next time, peace and progress.
Peace, y'all.